this is Irene, KittyWolf13 as I'm known on most of the internet. This is another video, and this I'm doing is of my Luts Delf Nanuri06 Ringo. Ringo is my first doll, and as you can see, he's quite larger than the last one I had up here, which was Haruhi. Haruhi is what folks call a USD doll, and they're generally about Barbie size, a little bit taller. They're definitely fatter, obviously. But as you can see, Ringo is a very large doll. He is what they classify as an SD, which is a term that Volks coined for their Super Dolphy line. But generally, the hobby adopted it as a size marker. And SD stands for dolls that are 60 centimeters in height. As you can see, he's a pretty tall boy. I do say boy because a lot of the dolls are, I guess, artistically made to look more feminine. So a lot of people who are not familiar with the hobby do confuse these guys for girls, but he's most definitely a boy. But one of the fun things about the hobby is that you can customize the doll to be pretty much whatever you want. So I could essentially put his head on a girl body, and Ringo would then become a girl. Little backstory to Ringo here. He is my first doll. I won his head in a raffle around Christmas time by a lovely member of Den of Angels, which is one of the largest doll BJD forums online, by the user Brightfires. She was nice enough to have gotten 2 of these heads and decided she did not want to sell the head because the head was originally given away from Lutz as a events head. Basically, during certain times of the year, if you spend a certain amount of money from their website, they will send you a free gift. Usually the gift is either spare hands or more than likely it's a head. I guess this is to encourage more sales, and eventually you have to buy a body for the head. So eventually you're going to come back to Lutz buying more things. So Brightfires put the raffle in, and at this point I was kind of very enamored with ball-jointed dolls, and I couldn't afford them. They are kind of pricey, even though there are some now that range in the $100 range and up. Generally, the average price is about $200 to $500. Ringo here, his head's worth about $100, and his body's worth about $350, to give you an idea. So when I won his head, I was very excited. Brightfires mailed him out to me right away, and when I received him, he came in a box, just his head, a pair of acrylic eyes, he was blank, and she sent me a couple of little goodies like this necklace, which he's never taken off, and a little outfit for the day that I would get him a body, which took a couple of months of saving up money and working and doing chores to finally afford his body. But it was a nice adventure to save up for my first doll. I did do the face-up on him. This is probably his second or third. His first one was pretty bad, but since he came to me blank and I couldn't afford to send him off to anybody, I figure, well, what the heck, I have to try this. The basic rule with face-ups is that you can't use anything that has oil in it because resin is porous and you can stain the resin because it's porous. So if you use something that has oil in it, it's not good. So I use chalk pastels and watercolor pencils. Neither of those have oil in them, so they're pretty safe for face-ups. I also blushed his hands. This is kind of an old blushing job. It might be from his first face-up. So his knuckle here is missing the sealant, which most people use the Volks MSC, which will be a term I'll talk about in a later video. But you can kind of see that I did his little nails, and I think his toes are done too. I don't remember. Lutz, seeing as Ringo is my first doll, Lutz is one of my favorite companies. I really like their older lines because they're much more stylistic, and I don't know, I just find them very graceful and beautiful. Their designs are very beautiful. The limbs, the fingers, the hands, the toes, the legs. It's just all very shapely, and they're just beautiful in general. So the Luts dolls became famous because they designed a system called what they call a the collectors dubbed a turnkey to make changing heads easier. As I said in the previous video, the wigs are removable and the eyes are removable. I used this silicone bracelet instead of a piece of Velcro, even though he had it on his head from Bright Fires. But, or maybe not, I think I put the Velcro on it, but I never really liked the way Velcro snags on wigs. So I've come to use these little silicone bracelets, and I tend to buy them whenever I find them on sale or at the dollar store or whatever. They're wonderful for using as wig stoppers. He does have staining from his black wig. Some wigs, they are not dye set, so you do have to be careful when placing wigs, which is why a lot of collectors use silicone wigs, or silicone wig stopper things. It's basically a bulbous silicone thing that fits over the head, and it would protect the head. Generally speaking, if I were to wipe his face up, it should come off with the stuff that I use to clean the face-ups off, and if it doesn't, you can technically sand it off. It doesn't really bother me too much because his wig covers it for the most part, so you're not going to see it. Let's see. Ringo's a little hard to maneuver here so that you guys can see it. The Luts head caps turn kind of like a screw. There's two notches here, and you put them in this notch here and turn to slide it in here. So, see? And as you can see, inside you can see there's this brown putty that I apparently have never changed to the MAC silicone, which is my preferred putty to use. I generally don't like the putty that companies send because they're either really sticky or greasy or messy or they get all over the place. So generally the first thing I do is rip out the eye putty and replace it with the MAC silicone earplugs, which is really cool, and since it's clear you don't tend to see it. I don't know if you could see the turn. This is the Luts has type 1s which have just an S-hook like the traditional ball jointed doll, and then they came out with this design. This design is the type 2, and it's what the collectors call a turnkey style mechanism. Basically you turn this like a key and his head pops right off. So no need to struggle with the elastic, because on the larger dolls the elastic is a lot stronger. If he's strung tightly, it's hard to pull on the elastic to be able to change their heads or their eyes or do their face up. So a lot of the collectors do really like the Luts design of the turnkey mechanism. As of right now, there are a few companies that use a similar system, but Luts, as far as I know, is the first one that designed it. One of their designers did move over to the very popular company called Fairyland, and the Fairyland BJDs use a turnkey mechanism as well. In pretty much all their lines, well, not their smaller lines, but from their mini lines up to their SDs, they use the turn style mechanism. So as you can see, the Luts company usually stamps in their head somewhere. You just can't see it because it's behind the putty. The name of the sculpt. He actually has markings from somebody who casted. Don't know if that's a serial number or what it is, but it's written in pencil and I've never erased it. He's kept it since his creation. He is from 2005, so he's a bit yellower. An interesting thing about resin is that because it is a porous plastic material, it does oxidize. So it does change color. As you can see, the turnkey on his neck is a different color compared to the rest of his body. I do think this is a newer turnkey, because the last time I restrung him I was too lazy to take apart the turnkey, so I just gave him a new one. So something a lot of collectors struggle with, it's something that doesn't bother me too much, just because I enjoy the dolls for what they are, is that the dolls do yellow. It's an oxidation process, which is triggered by heat, oxygen, and I find certain fluorescent lights affect it as well. And basically what it does is it does, over the years, change the color of the resin. It is more noticeable in different resin colors, like the beauty whites. They tend to get they either mellow out to a creamier color, or sometimes they get a yellow cast to them. The old Lutz beauty white dolls actually ended up turning a little bit green. So they sometimes affectionately call the old beauty white delfs as beauty green. So I'm going to put Ringo's head back on and showing you again how the turnkey works. Apparently he's not wanting his head to go back on. There we go. It's nice and snug, so it's not coming off. And then this comes back on. But yes, so they do tend to yellow over the years. Ringo is from 2006, so you can kind of get an idea for his age. He is my first doll, and thus the doll that I've had the longest. So I don't think he's yellowed too much. He has yellowed over the years. He's got a cream, I don't even know how to say it, because it's not really a yellower color, but it could just be because he's the normal skin tone that it doesn't look so bad on him. His wig's a little unruly and fluffy. But I enjoy the color he's changed too, and I don't really typically mind a lot of my beauty white dolls either in the colors that they changed. I really enjoy the Delf hands, by the way. I've always played with Ringo's hands. They're really pretty. Some people might ask, how do you stop the yellowing? I don't think there is a true way of stopping the yellowing, because it's just a process that the resin goes through naturally. There are people out there who swear by keeping their dolls boxed at all time when not being played with them. I don't typically believe in boxing them, because I like to enjoy my dolls. So if they yellow, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is Ringo, and he's a 60cm Delf from Luts. Delf is their 60cm line, that's what they call them. His mold name is a Nanuri06, and he was an event head, meaning you can't buy him from the Luts store. He was a gift item. To go over a bit more of the basics, he is a single jointed doll. Luts now, I do believe, has double jointed dolls. I'm not sure which lines it is. I think it's their senior Delfs that have the double jointing. The later Delfs do have a few more joints in their sections here that allow for a little bit more posability. But Ringo, for the most part, doesn't have that. I probably should have taken his shirt off before I put his head back on. That's half the reason why you can remove their head, is so it's easier for dressing. So let's see if I can at least show you a little bit of his nice sculpting. He's got a very nice physique, and it's not very buff or anything like that, but it's a nice sculpture. The Delf lines have these little cups. I guess they're to hide the strings and to aid a little bit in the posing, as you can see. But he is single jointed, but he can still touch his head. Some companies, they can't do that, but he's pretty limber, and I've strung him pretty decently. A lot of collectors will also hot glue suede their dolls, which means they'll put a dab of hot glue here in the joints and rub it in so that the rubbery texture gives friction and allows the doll to hold the position better. He was once sueded, but I guess I took it out because I don't see it anymore. Since he's my longest doll, I forget some of the things I've done to him. But But yep, this is basically a Delf 60 centimeter Type 2 Nanuri06 from the company Luts, and their website is luts.com. They are from Korea, so it is an international website. You would have to be able to clear all the payments and whatnot through your bank if your credit card or debit card usually has issues with international purchases. They are trustworthy. They've been around for a long time. I've ordered from them several times. Even though most of my collection is secondhand, I do buy from the company sometimes directly. Depends on if it's something new or if the aftermarket price is something that usually goes up with the aftermarket. Then I try to buy the doll direct when it's new instead of trying to find it secondhand. But sometimes it's worth it to find them secondhand for good prices. So, with that being said, let me know if you have any questions about the Delf line. I'd be more than happy to show you. As you can see, I have a hard time videotaping all of him because he's so tall he doesn't fit in my little display area. But I can take pictures and post them in a separate video or email them to you. Just shoot me a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions about the doll line in general. And I guess with that being said, this should be the end of the video. And yes, I hope you subscribe and come back to seeing my videos and learning a little bit more about the dolls. I'll probably do a couple of more videos on dolls. And then I will probably be jumping to some figures because I'm pretty excited. We just got back from MetroCon 2014, which is in Tampa, Florida. And I was able to pick up a few figures from a collection that I was missing. And I picked up a new figure from a new line that I'm really excited about because it's like a cross between the Figmas and a BJD because she's about Barbie sized and has real clothes, but she has all the details and painting of a Figma. So any of you out there who are Figma fans will probably maybe are familiar with them, maybe they're not, because I wasn't. It was a big surprise. I saw her at the SuperCon in Miami, Florida, and I had never seen the company before. So, and I also picked up the Sailor Moon Proplica, which is really popular now with the rebirth of Sailor Moon, so I'll probably do a quick little review for the Proplica as well. So keep an eye out for those videos, and like I said before, subscribe if you would like to see more videos. Post questions so that I have more to answer from and more things to talk about, because I'm generally just going off the top of my head and trying to figure out what people who don't know too much about the dolls would like to know and would like to see. So yes, subscribe to me, throw me some questions so that I can make the next episode even better, and I guess that's everything. With all of that, I'm going to say good night.